drinkies. Cold, 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 cold. Lots of ice. Lots of ice. Oh my. Yes. Brightness. Brightness. Why? Any minute now. There! Ding, 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 ding. Wait that thing to warm up. So, hi. Where am I? It's Tuesday. It's Alison. Alison Arngrim in the living room again. And it is Tuesday. It's September. Is it fall? Yeah, it's still pretty warm. It's still pretty much summer here. But it's technically fall. It's fall. It's September. It's almost, well, it's not the first day of autumn, which eventually happens, but it's September. Yay! It's September. And it's still toasty. Now, it's not too bad today. I've been told we're going to have wonderful weather here in Los Angeles all week until this weekend when it will be 109. I'm gonna be Laura Ingalls in that buggy heading to Missouri going. And then we were in the buggy and it was 109 in the buggy and then we had to stop again for food. And that's going to be me this weekend. Oh, that's good. Num, 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 num. So, let's see. We have our goldfish. We're going very white today. Isn't this pretty? Pretty. Super, super white. And yes, because I want to show off. We have white. It's got flowers. It has a pattern. It has a pattern of little flowers. But it is totally like a white on white thing. And it's very pretty. And so, I'll show that off with my little white blouse. So, like a big snowy egret. There you go. Today, indeed, is September 1st. It's one of those days. So it's like, oh, goody, goody. What are the days? What are the days? We're in September now. National No Rhyme or Reason Day. That sounds like something I come up with. What is National No Rhyme or Reason Day? I looked it up. National No Rhyme or Reason Day, September 1st, recognizes words that do not rhyme with any other words in the English language. Oh, that was good. Where are your wrinkles? You look great. I peeled them off and left them in the bathroom. No, literally yesterday, a really good friend of mine called and we were talking about a bunch of stuff. And she said, but seriously, I need to know, why do you look so good on Zoom calls and your Facebook Live? What are you doing? And it's like, makeup and lighting. Makeup and lighting are our friends. I used the Fabulous Cinema Secrets with the little spongy blender and the primer. So I already look like I'm airbrushed by the time I walk out of the bathroom. And then I hook up this little guy right here. This little guy. Ooh, can we lean in the shot? Hey, hello. Yes, we have one of these. And you set it on a little thing and until you go, ooh, I look 20 years. Yeah, that's very handy. And it does wonderful things. And, you know, if you're on a Zoom call, you can see better. It's very good. But you look awake. It's good. If you're just even on a plain old Zoom call, you look alive. You look perky. You look like you might be paying attention. It's good lighting. It's good lighting. It's awesome. So, it's, No Rhyme or Reason Day. Words that do not rhyme with other words in the English language. And there's not that many of those. September celebrates many random and capricious days. Talk Like a Pirate Days coming up. Observation focuses on specific words that do not rhyme. And they go on and on and on and blah, blah, blah. But unrhymable words, orange. Nothing rhymes with orange. I mean, you can sort of stretch it. Like if you pronounce it weirdly and come up with like some two-word thing. Orange. Month. Yeah, it's pretty much it. Silver, spirit, chimney, purple, woman, night, pint. Yeah, you know what? Nothing rhymes with those. Fascinating. Oh, so, yeah, indeed. So, words that do not rhyme. So, no rhyme or reason day. That's crazy. Now, the other day today, when I saw this, I laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. So, I printed the whole thing out to tell me. Today is, September 1st is National Chicken Boy Day. Like, what? Chicken Boy. National Chicken Boy Day honors the birthday of an interesting statue in California. And I have seen this. I'm like, oh, right, that guy. His ceremonial birthday. Learn more about this unique creation. Chicken Boy stands 22 feet tall and holds a bucket of chicken. So, yes, a National Chicken Boy. He's, there's a chicken boy. It's an advertising thing. It's a statue. It's a giant statue of a dude who has the head of a chicken and is holding a bucket of chicken. And it's a thing. So, yes. He's 22 feet tall. He has a bucket of chicken. He's a boy with a chicken head. He's on Route 66, famous. We had Route 66 Day a while back. Route 66. He is named for the 1960s Chicken Boy restaurant. Now, I vaguely remember this. I remember when I was little, we would call chicken, don't cook tonight, call Chicken Delight. And we did. We called Chicken Delight all the time. It was actually really good, though. Chicken Boy, we never called Chicken Boy, but I heard about it. He is the Statue of Liberty of Los Angeles. No, I think that's the donuts. Randy's Donuts with a giant donut. That's ours. The iconic statue remained in place until the owner died in 1984. At that time, Chicken Boy was given over to the Los Angeles art director, Amy Inouye. For a time, he remained cooped up in storage. But 20 years later, Chicken Boy flew the coop. He now graces the property of Inouye's design firm. The entire community came together to make the restoration of Chicken Boy possible. This is too silly. So he's been restored. He is on display. And you can buy things, Chicken Boy stuff, themed items for people to enjoy. And yes, in 2010, Governor Schwarzenegger, recognized the Chicken Boy statue along historic Route 66 with a Governor's Historic Preservation Award. So, yes, he's really silly. Chicken Boy, this statue, it was just an ad for a bucket of chicken restaurant, but it was really funny, so they kept it. They saved it, and it's still there. How to observe Chicken Boy Day. Watch Chicken Boy the movie. Dance to Chicken Boy polka. Do the chicken dance. Download and print Chicken Boy coloring page. Or I guess you could just like order some chicken or make fried chicken. You could make fried chicken, or you could get a big chicken head and wear it. There's a Chicken Boy Day, but that's cool. You know, sometimes these like weird, goofy advertising sculptures, they're like too cool, and people wind up when they tear them down, saving them and putting them in storage, or having some kooky artist put them up. In Arizona, see, I know about this because this is my friend Brenda, who just had her cheese party birthday. There was a miniature golf place in Arizona, in Phoenix, I can't remember eventually. Arizona, a miniature golf place. It was very popular, very beloved. And it closed down. It's just times marched on, place closed. So they sold a bunch of the stuff. You know how miniature golf places are. There's like a windmill and a thing. There's all these like weird statues. People loved it. It was apparently very beloved in the community. So people did. They bought the stuff. And one of them was a monkey, a giant metal monkey, enormous monkey with a tail that did this. And the idea was you'd put and try not to get the tail. Everybody loved him. And my friend Brenda, she bought the monkey. Like, where are you going to buy? She did. She had room. She put it in her yard. She's a giant monkey. She's a giant metal monkey with yeah. So she can start a whole miniature golf course in her yard now because she has the giant monkey. Because it was just so silly, and everybody loved the monkey. People didn't want it to go away. And so sometimes really goofy stuff, miniature golf courses. Chicken Boy. It's just a big like fiberglass thing of a guy with a chicken head holding the bucket of chicken. That's all it is. But sometimes people, they see it, they love the donut sign. It was Randy's Donuts, I believe, and it's in LA. It doesn't matter whether they're selling donuts or not, or what the heck they're doing there. Everybody looks forward to drive when they drive. They go, oh, and there's the big donut. They feel secure. This is my big donut. It's familiar, and we all feel better because Chicken Boy is still there. Rocky and Bullwinkle, I understand, are being restored. When I was a kid, if you read my book, Rocky and Bullwinkle were on Sunset Boulevard. It was a whole billboard thing. And I could look out the window of the Chateau Marmont and see Rocky and Bullwinkle. See Bullwinkle Moose holding Rocky. And then they went away. And then they were across the street stationary. They weren't turning on the billboard anymore, but they were stationary. And then they went away again. Then they came back because it was a movie and a thing. And then they went away again. And I hear they're coming back. They're coming back. Rocky and Bullwinkle are coming back. So I'm very excited about that. So yes, dopey things like that are just advertising and whatnot that we wind up preserving because we like them. So that's cool. So it's Chicken Boy Day. This party, you could like wear this. You could wear this to like a wedding. You could get married. Yes, look at this. Look at this. It's a pretty white blouse and the pretty white and the flowy sleeves, the floopy sleeves. And this is lovely. So there we go. So yes, we are still reading the amazing Prairie Lotus. Oh, this is it. Oh, someone said they are back. I gotta get down there. Where? We're talking about moose and square. Prairie Lotus. Now we are almost down the home stretch. So things, as I said, have been looking up. There was a spot of trouble at school. poor little Hannah, who's half Chinese, but very Laura Ingalls, in the 1880s in South Dakota, and the blonde girl named Dolly with the ringlets at school, who just happened to be named Dolly and happened to be horrible and blonde with ringlets. And a little girl happened to be named Bess with braids, who's really nice. So, and who wanted to be a teacher to help her family who lived out on a homestead claim because they needed the money. Yeah, this is all going, wait, that would be like, hello. So they're all the themes are all like in here. So Hannah's been doing okay. She made it through school. She graduated, the teacher certificate. Half the students had refused to come to school. People were being horrible to her. They had a board meeting about it, but she prevailed. The justice of the peace is on her side. Her dad, very, very hurt. You know, her mom died, and her father has been like, I think, as I said, he's now smiled twice, like in this entire book. So he's coming around. He's starting to express his emotions. He's feeling better. She did the thing. She went to school. Now she's out of school. He doesn't have to worry about that anymore. And they're about to have the grand opening of their store, which she has really designed and decorated. Because even though she's like 14, 15 years old, her dad, when she said, I've drawn a whole schematic, a whole blueprint of the store, he's like, okay, yeah, we're building this. And he's just been like, do it then. So this is looking up, and they're about to have a party and a grand opening. So she's gone out to get prairie roses. And while she was out, she ran into the 3 Indian ladies that she'd met before, who had told her about the timsina, the roots, the little tuber things, which she ate and were super, super delicious. So she ran into them again, and they had a whole Timsina discussion, and the nice lady told her about where to get them. The woman said, here's the plant and here's how you dig them up and the whole thing. So she was very, very excited about that. So that was fun. She met them again. They not only said, yes, we're so glad we gave you the Timsina. I mean, they were speaking Sioux, and she was like going, do you mean the two? Like a lot of sign language. But basically, she was like loving the Timsina, and they were like, oh, well, Bush, it's here. Told her where to find it. It's great. So this is Linda Sue Park, who was raised on Little House on the Prairie. She talks about in the author's note that she had read the Little House books to the point that she had them memorized. So she's really into her 1800s Prairie. But she always thought, well, growing up as a little Chinese girl, what if I was a little Chinese girl on the Prairie? What if that happened? And ta-da, here we are. So she's now coming back, but she's been gone for like hours. So her father's probably going to have a fit because they're supposed to be having the grand opening like any minute here. Hannah drove the wagon into the alley behind the shop. Papa came out to meet her. What kept you? He demanded. I'm sorry, Papa. I didn't mean to be so long. She climbed down from the wagon seat. Those Indians I met the day before we got here. I saw them again. The same ones? Yes. In silence, Hannah put away the tools, and Papa lifted down the wash tub full of plants. I'll take the wagon back for you, Papa said. He shook his head. We'll need to get a stable built before winter. Where did you see the Indians? Hannah shrugged. 5 miles out, maybe a little farther. On the road we came in on. 5 miles, huh? I'll lay odds they didn't have a pass. A pass? That's what they need if they want to leave their land. They have to get special permission from the Indian agent in Yankton. Immediately, Hannah's mind filled with questions. Was it difficult for them to get a pass? Was the agent's permission required no matter what the circumstances? Did each of them need a pass? Even the children? I mean, it's 3 little old ladies and some kids picking roots. Did they need a pass? Were they all the way off the land? Was she on their land? Papa drove off to take Chester in the wagon back to the livery. When he returned, Hannah decided which of her questions was the most pressing. What happens if the Indians don't have a pass? He shrugged. I don't know. That's the agent's lookout. They were harvesting turnips. Wild ones that don't belong to anyone. Would they have to have a pass for that? If they're off their land, they need a pass. Didn't you hear me say it the first time? She sensed his impatience. Yes, Papa. She had more questions, but if his mood was turning, she'd have to wait and ask him later. As he went into the kitchen, he spoke over his shoulder. I'll go see Harris later this afternoon if I can spare the time. She looked up. Pardon me, Papa. Well, he's the one who'll get word to Yankton. The kitchen door creaked shut behind him. He's gonna go call the cops on the Indians. Hannah stood staring at the closed door. Papa was going to tell Mr. Harris that those women might have been off their land without a pass. It was her fault for telling him she'd seen them. She opened her mouth to protest and then snapped it shut. I mustn't start hollering. That will only make him angry. I have to figure out what to say first. In the next second, she completely disregarded her own advice. Papa! She cried as she threw open the door. But, Papa, do you mean to say that you're going to report them to Mr. Harris? Her outburst startled Papa, who was in the middle of pouring himself a cup of tea. The hot brown liquid sloshed over the edge of his tin cup, onto the tabletop, and then the floor. What with the blazes, Hannah, he shouted, banging the teapot down and spilling still more tea. It's not fair. They were digging up turnips. They weren't doing anything wrong. If they didn't have a pass, they were breaking the law, plain and simple. His face was red now. The anger in his voice made her flinch. To steady herself, she summoned the image of the two little Indian girls and the baby. That first time we stared at each other, me and one of the girls, her eyes so dark, like Mama's, like mine. But, Papa, you're the one who told me that the land around here used to be theirs. Maybe they didn't even know they were in the wrong place. That's no excuse. Now, what's got into you, Hannah? Since when did you care so much about the Indians? It was a reasonable question. I always cared about the unfairness, but I used to think only of how white people treated Chinese people. Now I know it's about how white people treat anybody who isn't white. Well, she has a point. And she also has a point, because here they're getting all sorts of flack from everybody over nothing just because she's half Chinese. Do they really want to go handing out flack to the people up the road just because they're Indians? And we don't know. I mean, she doesn't know exactly where they were. Were they off their land? Maybe they do have a pass. Maybe do you need a pass to go harvest herbs? No. It's still, yeah, I wouldn't be calling that in. I'd be some little old ladies were wandering around with their babies. Yeah, because we don't really know. Like, were they off? So he's going to get him in trouble, possibly over nothing here. And so she was horrified here. Yes, she couldn't bring herself to say that to Papa. Her momentary silence gave them both a chance to take a breath. She spoke again, carefully. Papa, it might be different if I'd seen a big group of men riding out. But I saw women and children. There was even a baby on his mama's back. She tried to smile winningly. Humph. Hope sparked inside her as she sensed his anger dissipating. Please, Papa, don't report them. They're only trying to feed their families. You're not to tell me what to do, he retorted, but the abrasive edge in his voice was gone. The truth is, I likely won't have time to bother with it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got work to do. He left at the door into the storeroom. Not a total victory, but not a defeat either. The next few days were frantically busy. Papa organized the goods in the shop. Hannah took charge of the storeroom. On Wednesday, she baked dozens of cookies. 2 kinds. Molasses, clove, and sugar vanilla. Oh. The one brown and spicy, the other light and crisp. She stored them in tins to await Tuesday's opening. She also made 2 strings of bells to hang on the double doors. They would jingle cheerfully to announce the arrival of customers. The following day, as Papa handed Hannah his plate after dinner, he said, "Had some visitors today. Well, not exactly visitors. They just stopped by to chat." "Oh?" She stacked his plate on hers and rose to put them in the basin. "Didn't stay long. Let's see, it was Miss Walters, Mrs. Tanner, and Mrs. Grantham." Mrs. Tanner was married to the town's doctor. Mrs. Grantham owned the furniture shop with her husband. Now, a prairie mammoth. Tanner. She's saying the doctor's name is Dr. Tanner. In Little House on the Prairie, Laura Ingalls wrote about a doctor named Dr. Tan. You think? Oh, that's good. Yep. I think it's a little send up there. Hannah turned in surprise. Miss Walters was here? Yes, like I said, they didn't linger. Pause. Miss Walters asked if we were going to be making dresses as well as selling dress goods, and the other ladies wanted to know the same. She tried to speak nonchalantly. Well, what did you say to them? Well, what was I supposed to say? He demanded, but there was no real heat in his voice. They sort of ambushed me. If they'd asked me one at a time, I could have said something different, but they came to me in a group, and he spread out his hands with a gesture of helplessness. She waited, holding her breath. I told them I was looking into it, he said. So that's what I'm going to do. Her brows drew together in puzzlement. How? Oh, I'm thinking about hiring a seamstress. I mustn't shout at him. It will only make him angry. But this was an important moment. If she wanted him to think of her as old enough to be the Edmonds dress goods seamstress, she would have to act that way. Papa, she said, keeping her voice as quiet and controlled as she could, I know you don't want me to sew for the shop, but I don't know why. He crossed his arms over his chest. I'm your father. You do as I say, and I don't have to explain myself to you. He's never gone that far. He's always explained himself. Breathe. I don't mean to be impudent, but I need you to know something. Mama taught me to sew. It's what she gave me, and I'm proud of that. I think she would have wanted me to help you make the new shop a success. She would have wanted me to sew for you. Papa scowled, and for the space of a long breath, she thought he might either start yelling or storm out of the room. Instead, he looked at her and jerked his chin toward her chair. She put the plates in the basin and sat down again. People talk, he began. When I married your mama, folks said things about how it wasn't right, a white man marrying a Chinese woman. She nodded. She knew about that, having seen it and heard it and sensed it as long as she could remember. There's more. They said I was taking advantage, making sure I had a servant for life. Her eyes widened. Oh, but that's not true, she blurted out. Even as a child, she'd understood her parents were partners in the shop. She'd often heard them discussing business. As she grew older, she realized that Mama was not only a talented seamstress, but also had an intuitive grasp of how the right clothes could bring people great satisfaction, and how the wrong ones made them unhappy. Papa consulted Mama on every order he took. Not a servant, not Mama. She had been his true partner. They were wrong, whoever said that. He rubbed the stubble on his chin. Well, that's what I think, too, but I can't change the plain facts. I'm white. She was Chinese. Folks will think what they think, and I hate to say it, but there are times when I wonder if they might have been right. If that's maybe what some small part of me was thinking, without me even really knowing it. Hannah had never before seen that expression on Papa's face. Puzzled, uncertain, full of something like sadness, or maybe longing. But the next second, his brow had hardened again. Is that it, Papa? Because people might say the shouldn't have to work like a grown woman. This is my chance. But Papa, I love the work. It's more like play for me. Yeah, see, that's the problem. When folks are paying you good money, you can't responsible. It's ridiculous. She's like the most responsible person in the world. She thinks ahead. She plans everything. She designed the shop. Okay, like, dude, seriously. But you know what it is? He's been very unhappy, and knowing that his poor daughter might face the same mistreatment that his wife did, it's killing him. It's killing him. And he wants to have this shop, and he wants her to be happy. She's going to recreate the whole thing. She's like, oh, yeah, we'll have a dress shop just like Mama, and I'll be sewing dresses just like Mama, and it'll all be just like when Mama was here. And he's freaking out because he's like, no. Wouldn't buy a mirror. She's like, well, we need a full-length mirror. He's like, no, we can't have the mirror. Like, why would you not want the full-length mirror? Why would you? It was great. You had a full-length mirror in the other shop. Why would? Because it would be exactly like when his didn't know how to express any of this. It's the 1800s. Guys weren't exactly into, like, spilling their emotions here. So this is just murder. I mean, he's like a Mr. Edwards type. And she's doing this number on him. Well, Papa, it's certainly not sensible to pay a seamstress when you've got one in the family, she said. Desperation was making her bold. You have to admit that. So I have a business proposal. A sample dress to hang in the window. There's only 3 more days until we open, not counting Sunday, so to finish it in time, I'll need help. We'll have to hire someone, an assistant, not a seamstress. If folks put in orders, because they like everything. Ooh, she betting him. She's making a wager here. She had no idea where she would get the money to pay him, but she kept going. Mama must have known what people were thinking about you and her, but I know she's getting it, that she's recreating this whole situation with Mama, and he is not ready. The silence that followed seemed to last forever. Papa's eyes were cast down as if he were... he asked. So, that's the problem, is she's really smart and she's driving him crazy because he can't follow her logic. He's not a dumb man. He's not stupid. Her design, he didn't, when she 14 years old, she said, here's the blueprint and I've designed the back quarters. I think you should totally redo the storeroom. Also, you need double doors, not a single door because of the hoop skirts. He could make it double doors, and she has designed the entire store. She said, I'm going to drive out of town, go get some rose bushes. And he said, okay. She made him buy the silk. He was like, we're not going to buy silk. Nobody buys silk in this. Because she's been right. And he does know his business. He said, how many stores now? He had a store in San Francisco. He had a store in Los Angeles. They had another store. They were in Cheyenne. They've had a store. Mama was his partner, and boy, did she know. She did all those tricks at the parties, raffles, getting people to buy things. So he knows. So when his daughter says, if you do this, you'll... And she's right again. Yes, we'll totally make money if we do that. But he would love to be able to go, la 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 la, and not think about his... He's half Chinese. He would just like to go, la, 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 this is not happening. Don't make me think about my wife. But he also knows every time she said something, he's like, she's right. She's completely right. That's what Mama would have done. And so this has got to be... This poor guy. I mean, I'm just really starting to feel bad for the father. He was so mean and brusque at the beginning, but I'm like, oh my God, this poor guy. He's just got to be... His brain is exploding at this point. But... Nellie's hotel and restaurant, as Percival said, nobody's going to come because she's cooking. Bring Caroline in, and Caroline, who can cook, and if the customers see Caroline and see like Caroline to cook, and he was right. If she hires a white girl, the people who are freaked out can go, oh yeah, well she's making... Hannah told Papa she wanted to hire Bess Harris. He said he'd seen the Harris wagon drive by earlier. The family might still be in town. That's Harris, the Justice of the Peace school board guy who got her into school and made everybody like shut up at the street, looking at every horse and team tied to the hitching post. In front of Bennett's grocery, she recognized the Harris horses. I guess it's like looking for someone's car. I wouldn't recognize someone's horse, but I guess that it'd be like, oh, there's their car. Cute, Bess said as she shifted the parcels and handed her a box of salt. Together they put the groceries in the wagon. So, I came to find you, Hannah said. I want to ask you something. Bess looked surprised and glanced toward. Do you like to sew? Bess shrugged. I can't say I like it, she replied, but Ma taught me well. Oh, yeah, so she's totally Laura. I don't really like sewing, but yeah, I'm totally good at it. Do you think, would you like... And more than that, Hannah found herself on tiptoe, tense with hoping. I'll be teaching school in the fall, Bess said. I've been wanting to find a way to earn some this summer. I'd say it would suit me fine, but I have to ask my parents. So she's in a seamstress shop. Like, Of course, Hannah said, her spirits lifting, and I need help right away. Can you come tomorrow? Bess was about to reply when hair strained back into a tight bun. She wore a dress of grey poplin, its plainness relieved only by a simple gold bar brooch pinned at the throat. Is everything in the wagon? Mrs. Harris asked. She did not wait for an answer. Come along, we should be off home. That Mrs. Harris should greet whomever Bess was speaking to. The only way for Mrs. Harris to avoid doing so was to pretend Hannah wasn't there. Mrs. Harris put her hand on Bess's arm so that her back was partly turned. Well, have been in another country. Bess was now climbing into the wagon, her face hidden by the brim of her bonnet. These bonnets, see, it's very handy. You don't want to talk to someone. What? I know, I didn't see you. Her husband, or Bess, she doesn't want anything to do with me. She'll never allow Bess to work at the shop. Right, because Bess is cool, Mr. Harris is cool, but what's with Mrs. Harris? Hannah had to resist the urge to cringe away from Mrs. When she wasn't. Why did she let them? Maybe I have to learn to not to let them hurt me. Yes. No, it's not my fault. It's theirs. The Harrises. The smallest of movements. She can't even say goodbye to me without having to hide it. Hannah knew now that she was going to have to figure out how to sew faster than she had ever sewed before. Later that afternoon, light and airy and smooth to the touch. Lawn was ideal for the hottest days of summer, and LaForge would soon be baking under the ruthless prairie sun. I remember all those dresses Laura had, and it was always the lawn. And that's the thing. Hannah's quite sensitive. Her mom was tough. Her mom would like, yeah, shine them on. But Hannah's still at that terribly sensitive age. So when these people are dissing her and being horrible to her, or just plain ignoring her and going, don't look at the Chinese girl, she takes it hard. Her mother would have just gone, oh, good morning, and like laughed in her face. But Hannah's just a kid. She's still like cringing and freaking out when these things happen. Even though she knows they happen all the time. She hasn't figured out how to, like, thick skin, blow it off, say good morning to people and embarrass them. You know, her mother had a technique. She had it down. But there you go. Heavens. So she picks out the nice lawn and says, After some deliberation, she settled on a pale green lawn, sprigged with leaves and round berries, a shade darker than the background. I think that Laura had, like, that exact dress at one point. I think that was a thing. Next, she looked through the box of patterns that she had ordered for the shop's opening and studied the dresses in the 2 most recent issues of Goody's Ladies book. She finally chose one of the patterns and adapted it to include her own ideas. It would be a day dress, a fairly simple design. But the lovely lawn would make it suitable as a visiting dress as well. I love this. Back then, people, which dress is that? Well, you didn't just have like your week dress and your Sunday dress or your school clothes and your work clothes. You had a day dress and a visiting dress and a riding dress. Like, oh, for heaven's sake. The pattern called for a ruffled collar, a shirred trim on the bodice, and a 4-tiered underskirt. That's a lot. The 3 tiers will be enough in that collar and trim. Too fussy. Maybe piping instead, in a nice jade green. Yes, piping, much less, fussy. She had left the best part for last. The bodice of the dress buttoned from waist to collar. She would need 12 buttons. Buttons she's got. She opened the enormous button box, letting her gaze rove over the rows and columns, enjoying the bounty, the colors, the shapes and sizes. Then she chose a few possibilities. Round white pearl buttons, domed glass buttons, also white but with an iridescent sheen. Flat circles of gold-colored metal, each etched with a daisy-like flower. She made 3 neat rows of buttons on the green sprig lawn and stepped back to judge the effect. The gold buttons didn't suit, no. Their color was wrong for the green of the lawn, which had more of a silvery undertone. Oh, she's picky, but she knows what she's doing, yep. She swept those off the fabric into her hand and put them back in the button box. Pearl buttons were customary on a lawn dress, pretty without being the least bit garish. This sample dress had to appeal to a wide range of customers, but the pearl buttons would be the safest choice. But Hannah wanted something just a little out of the ordinary. She's so clever. She knows what's traditional in a dress and how she can twist it. She's already made it less ostentatious without doing the big lacy collar, just a little piping here and there for, simple folk in the town. But then she's going to add a little, jazz it up a little. The glass buttons glinted with elusive colors that changed depending on how the light touched them. Oh, they're like little rainbow prisms. They would provide an extra hint of elegance she was aiming for. Frontier towns like LaForge, as well as their surrounding homesteads, were perpetually either dusty or muddy. Most of the women she saw followed Mama's first principle about clothing. Clean and neat. Don't have to be fancy, but clean and neat shows respect to other people and respect to yourself. Hannah was impressed by women like Miss Walters, who made the added effort toward stylishness, living as they did in a place where luxuries or even niceties were months away if they could be had at all. Between observing these women and poring over the pages of goodies, she had begun to form her own opinions about fashion. At 14, in the middle of nowhere in South Dakota. But she's right. I mean, neat and tidy is the proper respectful way, but these people don't get much. She has to walk a fine line. On the one hand, it's frontier, and it's dirty and muddy, so they can't have really elaborate, foofy things with velvet and stuff. That's not going to work. And they're plain folk, and they would probably freak out if it was a little too fancy. On the other hand, they need a little fancy, a little color would cheer them up. So how does she work it out that the dress is practical, yet there's a little foof to it? So the buttons. Going to do the buttons, I think. The design of a dress, she thought, could emphasize either the fabric or the cut. If the fabric was beautiful or special, the cut of the dress should be simple to allow for long, uninterrupted sweeps of the material. She's right. If the style of the dress was elaborate, then the fabric should be a plain weave in a solid color, the better to show off the structural details. Right, because if you had a dress that had like a lot of things going on, and it was like plaid, it would be so busy, like your eyes would cross. So, yeah. This dress belonged in the first category. The sprig lawn would be used to best advantage in a simple design, appropriate for daytime apparel. And an unfussy dress would be quicker to make. But besides that, this was a dress for the sweltering heat of summer. It should give both the wearer and those around her a sense of coolness and calm. The smooth glass buttons would add to that feeling. She could picture exactly what the dress would look like when it was finished, and she couldn't wait to see it. You see, she's an artist. She's got the gift. She can see it. She can see it in her mind. Every woman in town would want one, if Hannah could sew fast enough to get it done by Tuesday's opening. Hannah was washing the dishes after an early breakfast on Friday when she heard the knock at the lean-to door. Whoever could be calling at this hour? She was astonished to see Bess Harris on the doorstep. "Am I too early?" Bess asked. Hannah had been standing stock still, both the door and her mouth wide open. Now she blinked and stepped back to let Bess in. No, it's just I wasn't sure if, she inhaled once and started over. Please come in. Bess took off her sunbonnet and hung it on a peg in the lean-to. Hannah led her through the kitchen to the workroom. I'm sorry I gave you a bit of a start, Bess said. No matter, Hannah said. I'm glad you're here. Me too, Bess said. A pause. Ma wasn't sure about me working here at first, but Pa and I talked her around. Her blue eyes were wide and solemn as she went on. Pa told her that we could use the money. Ma said that we always made do before without me working. That was when James was with us. He used to work odd jobs for pay, but now he's gone to Oregon. Hannah remembered hearing about Bess's older brother. Ma asked Pa, how did he know it would be a nice place for me to work? Pa said he knew your father and trusted him, and that Miss Walters had spoken well of you. And I said that I knew you from school, of course. I asked her, couldn't I try it out for just a day? And if it wasn't, if there was anything that wasn't quite right, I wouldn't go back again. She glanced at Hannah, her expression suddenly anxious. But I was only saying that to try to convince her. I'm sure I'll like working here. So she's the Laura. She's the Laura because she's going to teach. She has an older sibling who's gone away to school. The family kind of needs money. It's like hint, hint, hint. She's left school early to teach, but she wants to work in a seamstress shop so she can make extra money. But her mother isn't sure she should be working, what sort of people, but her pa says, yes, you should get out there. Huh? So Bess is totally the Laura character, hanging out with Hannah here. Hannah hadn't considered what it would mean to be Bess's employer. Right? That's kind of a jump. Oh, wait, here. We're not done yet. Sorry. She said, I like working here. No kidding. Hannah smiled. I hope so. Shall we make a start? She gave Bess a tour of the workroom, opening drawers and cabinets to show her the various supplies. This cupboard here, she indicated a cabinet door between the countertop. This will be yours to store your things or whatever you're working on. Bess had brought an apron with her. While she put it on, Hannah went back to the kitchen to fetch another chair. She placed it near her own chair by the north window. 2 chairs, a comfortable distance apart. They looked as if they were already in conversation. Wow. So she's going to do this. Now, technically, that makes her boss. Now, you got to know, there are going to be people in town who are going to say, oh, the Chinese girl is the white girl's boss. Oh, la, 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 la. Somebody's going to have a bird about it, I'm sure. But they got away with it because Mama, when she had a shop, had people work for her. So, there you go. 50 cents a day in lunch. Satra saying that. Yes, 50 cents a day in lunch. Wasn't that with Laura? That is yes. So it's totally the Laura situation. It's totally. Oh, Mrs. Harriet Oleson. So yeah, and Mr. Harris has already been portrayed kind of as Pa. He's the Justice of the Peace. Pa was Justice of the Peace in South Dakota. He's on the school board. Pa was in the school board in South Dakota. He has brown hair and a beard and striking blue eyes. Like, oh, look, it's Pa Ingalls. Oh, and his daughter who wants to teach school. And like, weaving the things in. It's very clever. I'm loving this book. Like I said, we have to thank Bob, because Bob said, have you heard of this thing, Prairie Lotus? And I said, oh, I think I heard about it. That's the thing with, like, it's the Chinese girl on the prairie kind of thing. And he's like, I'm reading it. This looks really good. So, and now here we are. It's lovely. And it's a fascinating, because it's very Little House in the Prairie, because the author, as she said, was absolutely raised on Little House in the Prairie books. But she always kind of wondered, growing up as a Chinese American, like, well, wouldn't it be cool if, what if there was a little girl, because there were so many Chinese people in the 1800s out on the prairie, what with the railroads and everything, what if we had this story? And it's fabulous, cute little girl. Oh, so good. Alrighty, tomorrow is Wednesday, and we'll do it again. So tomorrow again, 1:30, here we'll be. Now today's Tuesday, so at 5, I will have my little radio show. It'll be like here, yeah, Facebook Live. It'll be on the Alison Arngrim show page. And at 5, I'll be interviewing Wendy Murphy and Karen Grassley. And yes, so it'll be awesome. And it's very good. Oh, where can we send? It's that loose gravel address. That loose gravel address you sent today. And we'll be doing that. And then on the 24th, we'll be doing a little show here. And there's things are happening. And I got to get ready for this. I'm making a movie. I'm like, fabulous. So I will see you tomorrow. Everybody wash your hands and wear your masks and stay safe and call your friends. Check in on everybody. Make sure they're okay. And I'll play tomorrow. I'll see you tonight. Ha!